Will today's snack be a graveyard smash?
Find out next on Junk Feud.
Aw, yeah, welcome to Junk Feud, the podcast about junk food, where we rate and review mystery treats to determine which one will be the undisputed champion of snacks. I'm your host, Mike. Alongside me, as always, Alyssa.
Dad,
Yeah, Liz.
where do skeletons go on vacation?
Where do skeletons go on vacation? I don't know.
Malibu.
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 Malibu babes.
Like Malibu, like spooky because they're skeletons?
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay.
Well, that was a dad joke, a joke you tell to your dad. If you'd like to submit a dad joke for Alyssa to tell me on the show, you can send it in to us via Twitter at JunkFeudPod or via email to junkfeudpod@gmail.com. And Liz,
Yeah.
welcome back to the world's yeetest podcast.
Oh, gosh. Still on this, huh?
Welcome back to Junk Feud, I should say. Lissa,
Yeah.
welcome back to Junk Booed.
What?
You get it?
Yeah, I get it.
Because it's spooky season, Liz.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break from the regular format of the show. We're going to get
Spooky.
spooky. It's October. We're going to do this every October. We're going to take a break from the regular season of Junk Feud. We are going to rate and review Halloween treats. Spooky snacks lists.
Yeah.
And I love this time of the year. This stretch of the year is, well, summer is my favorite, but in a close second is from like the time kids go back to the school. Back to the school?
Back to the
Back
school.
to the school.
Back to the school.
The time kids go back to school, the leaves on the trees start to change, fall to the ground, and then we get in like short order, back to back to back, Halloween, Thanksgiving. I think that's like the stealth best day of the year, the best holiday of the year, Thanksgiving.
Same.
And then
It's
right
all
after
about
that.
food. Literally our favorite thing in the world.
That's right. And then right on into Christmas and New Year's. It's my favorite time of the year. I love it. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And there's always new treats each year for us to eat. All sorts of, well, some things are really good and others are blatant cash grabs.
Yeah.
Liz, one of my favorite things about Halloween is trick-or-treating.
Mm-hmm.
It is now because I get to watch you guys trick-or-treat. When I was a kid, I liked trick-or-treating until I was like probably, I don't know, maybe only like 9 or 10.
Ooh.
And then I kind of gave up on it for a little while.
Why?
Well, I don't know. It seemed kind of like, I don't want to say anxiety inducing because it wasn't quite that. There was a little bit of nervousness in like dressing up in a silly costume and going up to a stranger and asking them for candy. Even though everybody else was doing it, it was always kind of nerve-wracking for me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think you get that at all, do you?
No. It's just candy from strangers. What could go wrong?
You know, like the exact opposite of the thing that we've always told you to do.
You're always like, don't take candy from strangers. But what about Halloween?
Unless it's this one day of the year and you're like pretending to be a ghost.
I'm so sad. This Halloween is on a Monday.
A Monday?
Yeah. So we have to go to school and then do Halloween. That sucks.
Do you
and
go
then
to
go
school?
back to school. On
Do you go to school in your costume?
I don't know if we do, actually, this year.
When I was a kid, we would go the first half of the day to school, and then we would get changed into our costumes and then come back and have like a little parade where we all got in our costumes and walked around the schoolyard.
Yeah, I don't think we do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. What was your favorite Halloween costume so far that you've had?
How about you go first?
I'll go first. When I was in preschool, Grandma made me a Spider-Man Halloween costume, like sewed it herself with a full mask and everything. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we love Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh, I took Chase to see Spider-Man today in the movie theater.
Yeah.
He didn't get to go the first time it was out, and he was like begging me to go, and then we got to go back today to see it.
Even though we asked him like a bajillion times. And he's like, no, I'll just sit here and play the video game that they just made about this movie.
Well, people have to come to things naturally, don't they?
Yeah, I guess so.
I think my favorite Halloween costume of all time, right after Spider-Man, was when I was in second grade. Grandpa made me a Wolfman costume, and the Wolfman just wears like slacks and a flannel shirt, but they did like the full makeup of the Wolfman. He got this stuff called spirit gum, which is what Hollywood special effects houses use to glue things to people's faces. And they got like this hair and they glued it to my face to make me look like the Wolfman. And then when I was in class, a kid asked me if the hair was real and tried to pull it off my face. And it was glued to my face and it hurt like it was real hair.
Oh.
Yeah, so shout out to Joey Tallarico for that if you're out there listening.
Yes. Sorry, Joey.
Did you remember what your favorite Halloween costume was?
I can only remember like 2 of my costumes.
What were they?
One was last year. I was like a zombie football player.
Oh, that was a good one.
And then when I was like really little, I think 2nd grade, I was Supergirl. I think that was my favorite costume.
Supergirl, huh?
Actually, no. When I was a baby, I was Tinkerbell. That was my favorite outfit.
Oh, that's right. Your very first Halloween, because you were born in October. This is your birth month.
Yeah.
And a few weeks right after you were born, we dressed you up like Tinkerbell. And you couldn't even sit up yet, so we just kind of laid you on the couch in your Tinkerbell wings.
Yeah, I think that was probably my favorite costume, just from the memories of it. Just like looking at the pictures.
Do you remember that you were a lightning bug one year?
What?
When you were in daycare, you asked, before you went to kindergarten, you were very small, you asked if you could be a lightning bug for Christmas. Or for Halloween. I don't think anybody dresses up for Christmas. Well, Santa Claus, I guess.
No, I do. Don't you remember my Christmas Eve performance?
Oh, yeah, how could I forget?
I was a balloon in a sweatshirt.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
We dressed you up like a lightning bug on Halloween because you asked if you could be a firefly. We made a little lightning bug glowing butt for you out of a sort of a plastic fishbowl that we put a little glowing cube in that we got in one of those drinks that you get in Disney World that has the little glowing ice cube in it. We kept that and suspended it inside.
We still have those. They just don't work anymore. So we should probably throw them out.
I think you can change the batteries in them.
Oh.
Anyway, that's just one Halloween tradition that we have, dressing up to go trick-or-treating. What are some other Halloween traditions that we have, Liz? What are some things that we do around October every year?
Well, for our Halloween at least, we always have a party with all our friends.
Yeah.
We always have this big Halloween party that we have to get ready the second we get home from school. Because everyone comes over and they stay till like 11 p.m.
Yeah, it is. I'll say this. It's nice to live in a neighborhood where we have sidewalks.
Yeah, because there's a lot of crazy people driving after too much candy.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
They've had too much adult candy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, it's also because some of your friends that maybe live in neighborhoods that don't have sidewalks
they
like
can
to come here
to our house
and trick or treat because we've got lots of houses clustered together and lots of sidewalks to walk up and down. It's pretty fun.
The funny thing is I get home at 4 o'clock and our party starts at like 4:30 every year.
Yeah, well, you won't have much time to get dressed and ready, will you?
No, but I think Halloween this year is a half day. So
well, that's lucky.
We'll have some more time.
You know, one of the things we do at the Halloween party every year is we have that big snack board that we put out on the island in the kitchen.
We take everything off our island. It's completely cleared and we throw it all on top of our fridge. And then we put all of these big snack trays out and there's like so many things just laid out. And then the backyard, we've got Blow It Up. We've got Blow Up Dinosaur Girl. We've got Bumblebee Chase. We've got pumpkins. We've got, oh my goodness, it's just too much.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of the night after we all eat and you go out trick-or-treating is when all the kids come back and they all dump out their candy onto the living room floor and then everybody trades the things that they like. I do remember one year our neighbor Max came back with us and he decided that year for whatever reason he only wanted Twix bars. And so he traded away every piece of candy that he had for every Twix bar that everybody else had.
And you took like 8 of them.
Well, because I love Twix, and he knew that, so he was giving me all the ones that he didn't want.
Yeah.
But it was great. This big bag of Twix bars that he had, it looked like he was carrying around like gold bars, like he was a bank robber from the Wild West. It was so funny.
No, that year I think he was like a bank thing or something. Not a bank thing. He had like the black stripes and the white stripes. He looked like
like a
cop.
burglar.
Yeah.
Not a cop, like a criminal, right?
Yeah. 1
Yeah.
year he was a cop, I think. I don't know.
So Max has done cops and robbers, huh?
I guess so.
Well, one of the things we always have on in the background while we're having our Halloween party are scary movies.
We always have the Monster Mash movies.
Monster movies are a big part of the season. Liz,
Yeah.
what are some of your favorite scary movies?
Oh, I like the one where Frankenstein throws the little girl in the pond and she drowns.
What a terrible thing. But also,
it's really funny.
It is really funny, and it's no lie, that was my favorite part of all of the of all of the Universal Classic Monster movies when I was a little kid. I would always ask to watch the part where Frankenstein throws the little girl in the lake.
It's so appealing for some reason. Just this little girl in pink with this big monster, and he just body slams her into the water.
That was fantastic. It's maybe the best part of all of the Universal Classic Monsters movies.
Maybe the best plot twist.
The plot twist is that
they're like best friends and he just
drowns
throws
a small child? That's horrible.
What a plot twist.
Hey, guess what?
Yeah, what's up?
That reminds me of this week's snack list.
Oh, yeah.
Up next on Junk Feud, or should I say Junk Booed?
Junk booed.
Monster cereals. Liz, what do you know about the monster cereals?
So the monster cereals, all I really know is that they have a pretty cool box.
They do have a fantastic box art on all of the monster cereals.
And a fantastic advertisement.
They do. They had a great advertising campaign. We're going to talk all about that because we're going to talk now about the history of monster cereals, which debuted in 1971. Liz, do you know what was going on in 1971?
Not much.
Without looking at the notes?
No, not much. That's only stuff that you can like process because you're like really old.
I'm not really old. I wasn't even born in 1971 yet.
You weren't even born until like the 1980s.
All right. Listen, here's some things that were happening in 1971. All in the Family debuted on CBS. Do you know what All in the Family is?
No, but I know what CBS is.
What's CBS?
Isn't that like a TV thing?
A TV thing.
Like a TV show.
A TV show?
Not like a show. Like, what are those things called?
You don't know what TV channels are.
Oh,
it's a broadcast station.
Like, all I ever hear is CBS Kids.
Yeah, All in the Family is a sitcom. Do you know what a sitcom is?
No.
A situation comedy?
No.
It's a television show.
Oh.
All in the Family was an important television show that debuted in 1971. Here's some other stuff that was going on. Bruno Sammartino lost the WWF championship after holding it for more than 7 years. Does any of that sound familiar to you?
No.
You don't know who Bruno Sammartino is?
No, but Bruno, we don't talk about Bruno.
Well, we do talk about Bruno Sammartino. He was one of my grandmother's favorite pro wrestlers.
Oh my goodness.
Satchel Paige was finally elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Evel Knievel jumped 19 cars on a motorbike. Do you know who Evel Knievel is?
No, but he sounds evil.
It's a great name, isn't it?
But ding.
Oh boy. Evel Knievel was a daredevil, a stunt jumper, a guy that rode a motorcycle around and would jump over and off of things and
that
crash
sounds cool.
Pretty frequently.
I want to do that.
Anytime I did something dangerous when I was a kid, my dad would call me Evel Knievel.
Get off the bike, Evel Knievel. We talked about this.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounded like.
Oh, Led Zeppelin played Stairway to Heaven live for the first time.
That's right. One of the greatest rock and roll songs of all time, Stairway to Heaven.
How does that go?
The whole song. It's like 8 minutes long.
Just like the chorus.
I'll play it for you afterwards. How's that? I don't want to sing Stairway to Heaven. I can't hit those Robert Plant high notes.
The only thing I can think of is Stairway to Heaven. That's the only lyrics I can think of.
She's buying a Stairway to Heaven. That's part of the song.
Stairway to Heaven. Is that how it goes?
Absolutely not.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Not even close.
But I like that. I'm going to make that into my own song. Stairway to Pecky.
All right.
Okay.
The Allman Brothers Band played their legendary concert at the Fillmore East. Charles Manson was sentenced to death. Do you know who Charles Manson is?
No.
Probably for the best. Richard Nixon declared the war on drugs. Jim Morrison died. Walt Disney World opened its doors in 1971.
Yay! We love Disney.
We do love
We
Walt
talk
Disney
about
World.
this in every episode. Somehow Disney always comes up.
A guy named D.B. Cooper stole $200,000 and jumped out of an airplane with it and was never found.
What?
Isn't that exciting?
Oh, wait, that's exciting. Can we jump out of an airplane and try to find the money?
Well, probably we wouldn't do it in that order. He hijacked the plane.
Oh.
Yeah, he was not a good guy. He was a burglar.
Did he die?
Well, nobody knows for sure. He was never found.
Oh, well, that was 1970, and he was like probably old when he did that.
Well, maybe he might still be hanging around. That $200K is probably not still holding up for him.
No.
And Liz, the first email was sent in 1971.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was on a smaller network, the predecessor of the World Wide Web that we know today.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
You don't know what else to say about email?
Yeah, email's like, I don't use email. That's for you to use.
Oh, email is for old people too?
Yeah.
So what else is for old people that you've told me?
So email, we've got, I don't know, I can't remember. So many things that remind me of how old you are.
Well, oh my goodness. The thing we're talking about today are the monster cereals that are based on the Universal Classic monsters that we were just talking about, like Frankenstein. And the seemingly never-ending monster craze that started essentially with Mary Shelley in 1818, who wrote the book Frankenstein, or the Modern-Day Prometheus, which was, by some accounts, the first ever science fiction book. That's pretty wild, isn't it?
That's very wild.
I think she was only 18 when she wrote the book. I think she maybe started writing it at 18 and finished and published it when she was 20, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and her writings made their way into Frankenstein the movie, which was sort of one of the first ever major Hollywood motion pictures starring a monster. The first one that we're talking about for Universal Classic Monsters, the whole thing starts more or less in 1931 with Dracula.
Oh,
You've seen Dracula.
Yeah, we like Dracula.
Starring Bela Lugosi. And then Frankenstein, also in 1931. Now, there were some earlier silent movies from Universal Studios that featured monsters. There was The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1923, Phantom of the Opera in 1925.
Is Notre Dame in Paris?
Yeah, Notre Dame Cathedral's in Paris.
Oh, yeah.
I think you guys may have seen it when you were on the bus tour.
We did see it on our bus tour.
Oh, that's lucky.
Yeah.
So both the Hunchback and the Phantom were played by an actor, a man named Lon Chaney, who was called the Man of 1,000 Faces. His son shared his name. And then also in 1928, there was a movie called The Man Who Laughs, starring Conrad Veidt. And if you've ever seen photos of Conrad Veidt in The Man Who Laughs makeup, this was the inspiration for the Joker character in Batman Lists.
Really? So
Yeah.
like a creepy man with green hair.
Well, it was black and white, so you couldn't tell if his hair was green or not, but he had sort of like that rigor mortis smile on him.
Ew.
Liz, can I hear
Ew.
your best
Ew.
Joker impression?
I don't...
Give me the Joker laugh.
Wait, I don't know what he sounds like.
You don't know what the Joker sounds like?
Is it like...
Well, that wasn't too bad, actually. There are a few different versions of it.
You do it.
No, I can't do it.
No,
I think
do it.
I think my favorite is probably the animated Joker. Mark Hamill does the voice for the animated Joker. Mark Hamill, who was Luke Skywalker in Star Wars.
Luke, I am your father.
Oh, that's not the line, actually. Did you know that?
I'm your father.
Oh, boy.
It's too late for this.
In 1931, Dracula and Frankenstein come out. Producer Carl Laemmle from Universal Studios treats these monster movies with sort of like the same sense of gravitas that MGM Studios treated their big, lush, lavish musicals with. These were like real, actual cinema events. They weren't just tossed off jokes. And as a result, the monsters became pop culture icons, along with creatures like the Mummy, the Wolfman, the Bride of Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, and then the Gill Man, or the creature from the Black Lagoon, and some others. And they were very heavily merchandised, and that's what really kept them in the public eye, I should say. There were these things called Aurora model kits. I think we had a Frankenstein one that was, do you know what a model kit is, Liz?
No, but it sounds just like those little like action figures, like all in a kit.
Yeah, sort of. Like, this would be like if you built your own action figures and then painted them yourself as well. And they don't move or anything. They just kind of stand static in these rigid poses. And then, of course, there were home video releases after the Aurora model kits, and then action figures and clothing. And there were toys and Burger King kids meals at one point. All of this, the fame of the creatures was really due to the monster design. And that was from the really marvelous makeup that was done by a guy named Jack Pierce. It took hours and hours and hours. And in general, the actors disliked this because they had to sit very still in a chair for a very long time, while this man in sort of like a surgeon's smock came over and he would apply these very intrusive makeups to them. And some of them use chemicals and other materials, cotton and collodion, for example, that would...
Did it rip their skin
Yeah, it
apart?
would like burn and rip their skin, but it made them look amazing. And then you had these incredible performances by people like Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman, and of course Boris Karloff, who was Frankenstein's monster, and some other creatures over the years in the Universal Classic horror movies. And it's interesting, Liz, to bring it back to food. Boris Karloff was discovered by makeup artist Jack Pierce in the Universal Studios cafeteria.
Really?
Yeah, Pierce came by and saw him and said, "This man has such an amazing look. I need to make him into a monster."
Oh my! Imagine someone saying that to you and how upset you would get.
I think that's kind of one of those weird situations, a strange coincidence that really changed his life forever. Like, if you were in the cafeteria and someone came up to you and said, "I think you look like a monster," probably you wouldn't like that very much.
No.
No, but for Karloff, it changed his life. He was one of the top billed actors of his time. He was, I think, one of the first actors ever to be billed above the title on movie posters by his last name only. The movie posters would just say Karloff.
Karloff. Just imagine. Karloff.
Yeah, so like a movie poster for you might say right at the top, just Alyssa starring in Junk Feud the musical. So after all of these monster movies came out in the 30s and 40s, there was this concept of monster mash style movies. The idea here was that there was sort of like almost a shared mythology between all of these different creatures. even though they were in different movies and they, up to that point, hadn't appeared together in any movies, there was this idea that maybe they embodied the same universe. And there was this girl, this guy named Kurt Siodmak, who was the screenwriter for the Wolfman movie in 1941, I think it was. And he came up with the mythos for lycanthropy, werewolfism, in those movies.
What is werewolfism?
What do you think werewolfism is?
Like, you get eaten and then bit and then you turn into a werewolf.
Yeah, that's right. Kurt Siodmak came up with all that mythos for werewolfism. There was even a rhyme, a little poem in the movies. Even a man who is pure at heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. And the idea behind it was if you get bitten by a werewolf, you become a werewolf, and then you go off and bite people and they become werewolves as well.
Yeah.
Well, what ended up happening was there was a movie in 1943 called Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. What do you think that could possibly be about?
The Wolfman trying to eat... What? Wait, what? I just completely forgot.
Yeah.
Oh, Frankenstein.
Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
Yeah.
Well, what ended up happening was Larry Talbot, the character of the Wolfman, played by Lon Chaney Jr., because he's a werewolf, can't be killed, and he finds Frankenstein's monster buried in ice. Now, at this point, it's a few movies into the Frankenstein cycle. Bela Lugosi, who originally played Dracula, is now playing Frankenstein.
What?
Yeah, so some of these actors, because they were on studio contracts, would move around and play different roles. In fact, Bela Lugosi, the original Dracula, only played Dracula in the movies twice, and I'll tell you what the second one is in just a moment. At this point, he's playing Frankenstein's monster, and there's a very interesting story about the movie Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, because you know the characterization of Frankenstein where he kind of like walks around like this with his arms out in front of him and he just kind of lumbers along. You've seen that?
Yeah. He's like...
Yeah, well, in the original Frankenstein in 1931, he doesn't do that. He's actually very emotive, and he can't talk yet. He can only sort of grunt. In Bride of Frankenstein, and I think it was 35, he learns how to talk, and he sort of becomes a more fully fleshed out character, but all that sort of went away because there was a movie called Ghost of Frankenstein, where there was a laboratory assistant named Igor who was played by Bela Lugosi.
Again? Is this a boy or a girl? It's a girl, right?
Bela Lugosi is a man.
Bella is...
Bela, B-E-L-A.
Oh, you're saying it like...
Oh, you thought I meant like it was short for Isabella? You thought Dracula was a woman named Isabella?
Yeah.
You've seen Dracula.
I know, but I was just thinking like Bella.
Bella, like Bella.
Bella. Bella. Bella. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh my goodness. Well, what ended up happening was they try to switch Igor's brain and the monster's brain so that Igor, who had his neck broken when he was hanged but did not die, could have like a normal functioning body again. And of course, as it does, something goes wrong and the monster goes blind in the process. And then he was going to be speaking with Lugosi's voice and all of that. But in Frankenstein Meet the Wolfman, already all of this had happened, but that plot element had been cut out of the movie. So it just looked like he was walking around, bumping into things and with his hands out. So the monster was supposed to be blind, but they cut all the expository parts out of the movie. So nobody knew that he was actually blind.
How do you know he was blind?
Well, because there are people that worked on the movie that talk about the things that went on during the production, and they write it down in books or in cinematic criticism, and that's kind of how you find out about it. Yeah. So the reason that portrayals of Frankenstein's monster today have him sort of like walking around with his arms out in front of him and grunting and acting real dumb is all because they cut out all of the lines in the movie that explained that he was blind. And in fact, he's still doing that in 1948 in, Liz, what is my second favorite movie of all time?
What is it?
Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Oh, goodness.
I watched this movie so much when I was a kid. I watched it all the time, not just at Halloween. I think I watched this movie and I watched Jaws probably every day. And because
like
this
what
was...
Chase does with Frozen, Transylvania, like all the time.
Kids learn things through repetition. So like when you're a child, it's not uncommon to watch movies over and over and over and over again. I remember when we would get a new movie on VHS. Do you know what that is?
No.
Well, that's a story for another day. But when we would get a new home movie...
Voorhees High School. VHS.
Yes, technically that is the correct acronym, but that's not what we're talking about.
Oh.
We would get a new movie and we would just watch it over and over again, back to back to back, as many times as we possibly could. Because that's sort of, the way that kids' brains work. But what this meant for me was that I didn't know that these were actually good movies. I thought the movie about the giant shark was just a fun movie about the giant shark. I thought that the movie with the silly monsters in it was just a movie about these fun monsters with great makeup. I didn't know that these were actually like some critically acclaimed pieces of cinema. I didn't know this until I saw Roger Ebert's star ratings and movie reviews for them. And now both of these movies, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein and Jaws, are recognized by the Library of Congress as being culturally significant.
What's the Library of Congress?
The Library of Congress is like the big library of the United States of America. And if something is considered for accession to the Library of Congress because it's culturally significant, that means it's a part of American history.
Wow.
Yeah, so all these monsters in the monster movies and Jaws, which
they're all about the United States of America now.
They're not all about the United States of America, but they're part of the cultural history of the United States.
If they were just like real people and you just see Frankenstein and waving a big American flag and he's just like, oh yeah, vote for Congress, blah, 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 with his arms sticking out and his eyes rolling to the back of his head.
Oh, like if the Wolfman was driving down the street in a big pickup truck with an American flag out the back and he had like Wayfarers on and he was just hanging out.
Yeah. Basically.
Well, what happened in this movie, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, was that, remember I told you that Bela Lugosi had only ever played Dracula twice on film?
Yeah.
Well, it was in Dracula in 1931, and again here in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein in 1948. And this was sort of like the end of the classic monsters era for Universal Studios.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, there is sort of a sequel to Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, but it's a novel, it's a book that came out in 1998 by a guy named Jeff Roven, and it was called The Return of the Wolfman. And it really just picks up right after the conclusion of the book, of the movie. Yeah. I have the book downstairs. I have not read the whole thing. I started it a few years ago and then I forgot that I had it. Liz, do you remember that when you were a kid, speaking of the Wolfman, you were absolutely terrified of the Wolfman?
Yes.
Do you remember this?
I still am.
You wanted to watch the movie.
Creeps me out.
You watched it and then you panicked when he came on screen. You ran upstairs, you cried for the rest of the night, and then whenever you would see the Wolfman or hear the words the Wolfman, you would have a complete meltdown.
No, because all you hear is, you just hear the in the background, and you're just like, oh no, he's coming out, and I would just run.
Yeah.
And I'd just panic, and I'm like, oh my god, what if he's in the house? What if he's about to eat me? Oh my goodness, what if he eats my brains out? What if he claws my eyes out? I need to run.
It is amazing that the creative choices that these people made, these artists made in these movies can resonate now, nearly 100 years later. Just the sound design of the Wolfman growling was enough to get you to go crazy.
Yeah, Dada.
Yeah.
So you know how, like, whenever we're in the beginning of movies, monster movies specifically, it's like we've listened to these, watched these every single Halloween, but this is something you do still every time. You always read the beginning of the story on the screen.
Oh yeah, of course.
You just pause through it.
I do the same thing with Star Wars when the opening crawl comes up.
Yeah, and it's like really annoying because you're wasting like half of our time reading.
It is a period of civil war, right?
Stop. It's the weekend. We can't have school going on when it's literally starting tomorrow.
It's not school. This is fun. And I think this is like learned fun because these were things that I knew just my entire life, my entire childhood coming up. We had an old Betamax tape. I asked you earlier what VHS was. Do you know what Betamax is?
No, but it's like beta fish to the max.
Beta fish to the max?
Beta fish, the biggest they get. Like it's like that and on a tape.
So
like,
Betamax is a very large fish.
Yeah, but on like one of those tape things that you push into the TV.
Okay, well that's incorrect. But what we had was a Betamax cassette tape.
Cassette tape, I know what that is.
You know what a cassette tape is.
Yeah.
And Grandpa had recorded off of television one day, probably in the month of October, a marathon of Universal monster movies. It started with The Mummy, then Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. I think maybe in that order. Or maybe it was The Mummy and then Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman. Whatever the case,
Yeah.
all 4 of these movies back to back to back. And he did something that he didn't usually do, which was he set up the VCR in the morning to record, he turned it on, and he just let it go. Usually he would sit there and watch everything, and he would pause to edit out commercials as they were airing live because he didn't want to watch the commercials when he was playing them back later.
Yeah.
But this one had all of the commercials left in. And so it was like a time capsule of things that were going on in television in probably like the mid to late 1980s in the Philadelphia region. There were commercials for sprint car races and Tux medicated pads and local furniture stores. It was really fantastic. I still have the tape, but I don't have a Betamax VCR that I can record it from.
We should buy one.
Well, they're really difficult to find in good working condition. And because they're so heavy, if you're not like physically there, they're very expensive to ship. So it's tough to find. We're still working on it. Uncle Matt thought that he had a line on one, but somebody had got to the store before him and picked it up. Yeah, that stinks.
Yeah. If only that Jimmy dude didn't buy it first.
Oh, the guy's name is Jimmy?
I don't know.
You a friend of Jimmy's?
No, not anymore. Why would I still be a friend with Jimmy if he stole my Betamax tape?
Liz.
What?
We talked about how these movies that put all of these characters together were called Monster Mash movies.
Yeah.
If you think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe now, the way that Spider-Man and Captain America and Thor and all of these different characters come together along a shared storyline with a shared mythology.
Yeah.
The Universal Classic Horror monster movies were sort of the first ones to do that, starting with Frankenstein meets the Wolfman and extending on through Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein and all the ones in between. But there was a guy named Bobby Pickett who in 1962 wrote a song called Monster Mash that sort of capitalized on the popularity.
Monster Mash.
That's
the
right.
Monster Mash.
Yeah, you definitely know this one.
It was a graveyard smash. He did the mash.
So in order to popularize the song and associate it with the classic monsters, Bobby Pickett renamed himself Bobby Boris Pickett after Boris Karloff.
Bobby Boris Pickett. Bobby Boris Pickle. Bobby Boris Pickle.
Oh my gosh.
Bobby Boris Pickle Pickett.
So
Pickle,
the way
picker,
this ended
picker.
up, Liz, the way this ended up happening was Bobby Pickett was doing a Boris Karloff impression while he was covering a song called Little Darling at a concert, and the crowd liked it. Do you know what Boris Karloff sounded like in real life? He had a very distinctive voice.
A very distinctive voice.
Yeah, he was a British actor.
A very distinctive voice. Like that?
Well, you were getting closer to it, but he sort of had a little bit of a lisp because he had a dental
Lisp.
appliance, a plate. Yes,
Lisp.
he sounded like that a little bit. So what Bobby Pickett did was he started singing like Karloff, and because people liked it so much, he hired a band and they wrote a parody version of a song about a mad scientist who invents a new dance craze. So you know what a dance craze is, right? That's like a viral TikTok dance now.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the 60s, that would have been called a dance craze, where people heard a song and someone showed them how to do a dance, and through word of mouth, everybody was doing this thing called the mashed potato, which was popular in the 1960s.
The mashed potato, is that where you just lay on the floor and just be smushed by a fork?
No, you kind of swing your arms up and down like this. Anyway, the Monster Mash song, you know it, everybody knows it. It's very popular around this time of year. In fact, it's so popular that it's still popular today. It was on the Billboard Top 100 list just last year. It charted at number 37.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That's considering it was in 1960 and it placed 37 out of all these new songs. That's pretty good.
Yeah, from 1962 to 2021, that's pretty good.
That's going to be us, but it's going to be like 37 out of like a million.
Oh, when you have Pecky the Musical?
Yeah.
Yeah, later in 1967, there was an animated special that tried to capitalize on the popularity of both the movies and the Monster Mash song, and it was called Mad Monster Party. This was created by a studio called Rankin Bass. Liz, do you know who Rankin Bass is?
No. Who's Rankin Bass?
Rankin Bass was the studio that made stop-motion holiday specials. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the animated Frosty the Snowman special.
I love Clarice from
From Rudolph?
Yeah, from Rudolph.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. She's one of the only nice people, or in this case, reindeer, in the entire special.
What about Rudolph?
Well, Rudolph was kind of misunderstood. I guess Yukon Cornelius was a nice guy too. But Santa Claus is a complete sociopath in that special.
Yeah, literally no feelings at all.
Yeah, and Rudolph's dad, he's a jerk. I couldn't believe it. Watching that now as an adult, it's shocking how they treat this small child reindeer.
It's so sad. It's like if you sent me to a daycare and there were bullies and there were like mean teachers and then there was just this nice person, this one nice person.
Yeah, they pick on Hermie the elf for wanting to be a dentist.
Yeah.
Dentists are heroes of our modern culture.
Yeah, like what would I do if like my teeth have fallen out so much and what if these dentists never took my teeth out?
Dental health is one of the personal wellness items that's most linked to longevity. Did you know that?
What's longevity?
Longevity, how long you live.
Oh, longevity.
Yeah, if you take care of your teeth, you're more likely to live a long and healthy life.
I don't know. I've heard this one person, he hasn't brushed his teeth in 100 years and he's still living.
I don't believe that.
Keep going.
Thank you. So Mad Monster Party was chasing the horror spoof trend that was popular at the time. The Addams Family was on TV and in
The
cartoons.
Addams Family.
That's right. And
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
also The Munsters, which has a new movie coming out.
What's the Munsters?
Do you remember The Munsters? Herman Munster.
Nope.
The dad of the family is like Frankenstein's monster.
Mm-mm.
His son
Still don't know.
is a wolf boy. They were
wolf
like
boy.
they were like another version, sort of. They were very similar to the Addams Family.
I don't know.
It was pretty funny. You would like it.
Maybe we'll watch that.
There's a
soon.
Munsters pinball machine at Jilly's Arcade in Ocean City that we've played. Chase likes it.
Well, we're gonna go in like 2 weeks, so we'll see it then. Well, I'm going, you're not.
Right. So Mad Monster Party was chasing this horror spoof trend. It was sort of loosely themed after Famous Monsters of Filmland, the famous horror magazine that we talked about when we did Famous Foods of Filmland. And also Mad Magazine, hence the title of the show itself, Mad Monster Party. So it was kind of a goofy show. It's inessential, but it looks great. The stop motion is incredible. A bit of a weakness of mine, but...
Why?
Well, because it's sort of a lost art form. There's nobody that's really doing great stop motion animation anymore. I think probably the one you'd be most familiar with would be the similarly themed Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, they did really good in that.
Yeah, that's a Tim Burton production for stop motion animation. And in fact, a lot of people think that Nightmare Before Christmas was the first stop motion musical, but in fact, it was actually Mad Monster Party, as far as we can tell.
That's good.
Yeah, and then later, 1974, we saw Young Frankenstein. We love that movie. We watch it every year.
Oh, yes, definitely.
One of the finest comedies of all time by Mel Brooks with Gene Wilder, who also wrote it with him. Did you know, Liz, that they actually used original set pieces and props from the 1931 Frankenstein film for authenticity in Young Frankenstein? Yeah.
Do they still have those props?
I don't believe so. I think most of them were destroyed or lost to time. But in the intervening, 40 or so years between the 30s and the 70s, they kept them around on the Universal backlot and they were able to use them again. So next time we watch it, I'll point them out to you.
All right.
And then another one that we like, that we watch every year, is the Monster Squad. It was a really fitting tribute to all of those original films and the Monster Mash movies like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, all while doing this really amazing 80s thing where a group of misfit kids are very, very under-supervised, but still go on to have an adventure and save the day.
Oh.
Is that something you and your friends would like to do?
Yeah.
Not be supervised and have an adventure and save the day?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think would happen if, you and the basketball girls, for example, came upon
we
some...
would die. We would die. we would die.
You wouldn't even put up a fight against the monsters?
No. It's we would put up a threat. There's probably 2 girls that would go beast mode. They'd get destroyed. And then I would probably just try to run away and call 911 while all my friends are dying.
Well, I mean, I guess calling for help is probably the responsible thing to do, right?
Yeah. Well, but honestly, what are the police going to do about it? Fight back?
Well, it doesn't go well for them in Monster Squad, the movie. The police are pretty unable to defeat the Universal monsters. In fact, the children have to do it themselves. And to tie this back into food again, and product placement that we talked about earlier.
To say before food again.
Oh, please, go ahead.
What's the movie where it's Frankenstein's holding on to this little girl, and there's this big tornado, and he has to let go and float away?
Peck.
What?
That's the movie we're talking about, Monster Squad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
It's a good one.
Actually, no, that's my second favorite. The second favorite.
Your favorite is when Frankenstein throws the little girl into the lake.
Yeah.
That's right. In Monster Squad list, there is, to tie it back to Burger King, which we said had some Universal classic monster toys in some kids' meals a while back.
Why do you have to tie it to Burger King?
Well, because in this movie, Monster Squad, there is some very blatant Burger King product placement where Sean and his dad are sitting on the roof of their house watching a far-off drive-in movie in the distance, and they're eating Burger King.
Ew.
Yeah, well, listen, the most fitting, for our show anyway, and enduring tribute to the classic monsters is probably the monster cereals from General Mills, which say that those monster cereals themselves are a beloved part of a fall tradition for more than 50 years.
50 years?
50 years. And we're talking, of course, about the first two monster cereals, Count Chocula and Frankenberry, which both debuted in 1971. In fact, they were the only chocolate and strawberry cereals on the market at the time. If you can believe this list, the characters of Count Chocula and Frankenberry were created in part by a 26-year-old advertising agency employee named Laura Levine from the Dancer Fitzgerald Sample Company, who then had a guy named George Carn, who had already created the Trix Rabbit and Lucky the Leprechaun from Lucky Charms, and another artist named Bill Tullis draw character models. And then they eventually extended that line to include Boo Berry in 1973, which said it was the first blueberry cereal. And the character voice for Boo Berry was based on a guy named Peter Lorre, who was a horror movie mainstay. Do you know who Peter Lorre is?
No, who's Peter Lorre?
Have you seen Casablanca?
What's that?
It's a movie. Have you seen Mad Love?
What's that?
It's a movie. Have you seen M?
No, but I'm assuming it's a movie.
It's a movie. They all star Peter Lorre, who was a guy who talked like this. You know, like that old, like creepy...
Ew.
Yeah, he had a very distinctive voice.
Ew, I don't like that.
Well,
that
the voice
makes
was...
me have chills.
Yeah, that's the idea. The voice was based on Peter Lorre, but it was actually voiced and enunciated by a guy named Paul Frees. Do you know who Paul Frees is?
No, but I'm assuming he was a director for movies.
Paul Frees was a voice actor. He was the Pillsbury Doughboy. He was also the voice of the ghost host in the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland.
The ghost host.
Remember?
We love the Haunted Mansion.
Welcome, foolish mortals. Like that
Yeah.
guy? That's Paul Frees, who was the voice of Boo Berry.
Oh. And there's no way out.
Yeah, that's right. So that was in 1973, and then a year later in 1974 was a werewolf-themed cereal, or at least a wolf-themed cereal called Fruit Brute.
That's very good.
Yep, it was discontinued in 1988 and replaced with another fruit cereal called Fruity Yummy Mummy. I remember watching Fruity Yummy Mummy commercials when I was a kid.
Fruity Yummy Mummy. Was it a mummy?
It was a mummy.
Ugh.
Yeah,
gross.
that cereal itself was discontinued again in 1992, and at one point or another, all 5 of these cereals have returned, and they're mostly released seasonally now for at least the past 10 to 12 years. Fruit Brute, in fact, is back this year for 2022. There's new box art. You said earlier that you love the box art for these. I love the box art for these as
I
well.
think they look really cool.
The character designs are
I like the side where they have
fantastic.
like all of the 4 characters, and then it says like the little tree at the bottom.
Yeah, they're iconic. I think Frankenberry is probably my favorite design. He's sort of like that pink steampunk Frankenstein. That's really great.
Yeah, actually, that's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think he's the best. The box art this year is done by a popular street artist named Cause, who, to tie it back to New Jersey, is originally from Jersey City, Liz.
That's close to us, I think.
His signature look has been traditionally replacing pupils in character eyes with big X's. He began his career as an illegal graffiti artist. Did you know that the word graffiti is plural already?
Like there's graffito.
Graffito is the singular. That's right. Isn't that fun to say?
Graffito.
Graffito.
Feet. Fito.
Graffito. That's fun. This year, you can enter to win small toys of the mascots that look like old premiums that you get in boxes. Do you know what cereal premiums are, Liz?
No.
A cereal premium it was like a giveaway, something that was inside the box, a small toy or a trinket to entice
Hey,
you.
YouTube, so today we're doing like 5 giveaways.
No, not like that. That's like the worst version of a giveaway.
Exactly.
When I was a kid, you used to want to buy cereal to get the toy or the prize that was inside. And there have been some great ones. I think my favorite one ever was just a little Captain Crunch figure, only a few inches tall. I still have it today.
It's probably in that memory bin.
It is.
Behind you.
It's in the box right behind me right now. Last year, List, there was a Monster Mash cereal, which was all 5 of the varieties together. There is a website, a blog called Serialously.net. It's a great...
That's a good name.
It's a great name. The guy's a very good writer. He writes all about cereals. He didn't like this one very much. He said the Boo Berry flavor sort of overwhelmed all the other ones.
I personally think Boo Berry is it's like nothing, and then it kicks in right away.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about how we felt about trying out all of these in just a moment. But right before that, we're going to talk a little bit about what we were doing while we were eating the cereal today, which was we were watching all of the advertisements, the episodic commercials for them, where all of the lore and mythology around the cereal and the characters was developed.
The main monsters was Count Chocula and the strawberry guy.
Yeah, Frankenberry. And they would bicker back and forth over which cereal was better. And then at the end of it, they would usually get scared by something. Another monster, usually Boo Berry or a small child or something like that.
That small child was creepy.
Well, she was a little creepy, that's true. The gimmick here is that even though they're monsters who are big and scary, they're really just scaredy cats themselves, so it's kind of funny. Anyway, the commercials had a pretty serious pedigree in the animation. They were done by a guy named Bill Melendez, who did all the Peanuts TV specials. We were talking about Rudolph and Frosty earlier. One of the other things we usually watch around Christmas is the Peanuts Christmas special, a Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was Bill Melendez. You can tell the influence in the animation style.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, all of these cereals have marshmallows in them.
Yeah.
Sort of like Lucky Charms, I think, is probably the most popular one.
We bought an entire box of just the Lucky Charm marshmallows.
Oh, I know. They're good.
They are good, just in case you want to add like an extra little kick to your Lucky Charms.
Well, I think part of the reason that I like them now is because I wasn't allowed to have cereal with marshmallows in them when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah. Grandma would let us have what we called sugar cereal. That was things like Captain Crunch, for example, but we were only allowed to eat those on the weekends.
Or like Fruit Loops.
Yeah, that were weekend cereals. Sugar cereals were weekends and like snacks before bed. But if it was a school day, the only things we were allowed to eat were cereals that didn't have any sugar added to them. So like Corn Flakes and Rice Krispies and Cheerios.
Ew, I don't like Corn Flakes. Or Raisin Bran.
Oh, I like Raisin Bran.
Ew.
I think Raisin Bran was Grandpa's favorite cereal.
Ew.
Oh yeah, he would have like a giant bowl of Raisin Bran before bed. I remember he had this sort of like an earthen stoneware bowl, and it was very deep, and it was brown, and then it had like these blue embellishments around the side, like a ring around it, sort of. Man, I bet he still has that. I'm sure that he does.
I don't like Raisin Bran.
The takeaway from all this is that I don't really have any nostalgia here for these kinds of cereals the way that others might. I love the commercials. I like the character design. I love the box art. But these were not things that I remember eating as a kid. In fact, and I didn't tell you this before, but tonight when we tried these cereals for the first time, it was the first time I had had any of them except for Frankenberry, which I had tried once before in the past.
So you saved this day specifically?
Yeah, I saved it so we could do this together. It was fun.
It was fun. I just liked how we do the little taste test before the show, and we're just like, we go 3, 2, 1, and then just toss it in.
Chomp. That's right.
Crunch time. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Well, we did our own crunch time already.
Yeah.
Liz.
Yeah.
We talked about Frankenberry a minute ago and how it was the only one that I had actually had before.
Yeah.
Frankenberry used to have a special ingredient in it to dye it, to make it that sort of pink color that you see.
Mm-hmm.
And it would dye the milk pink. But in 1974, the dye that was put into that cereal was indigestible, and it started turning something else pink too. What do you think that was, Peck? Can you guess? What might an undigestible dye turn pink once you ate it?
Your mouth. Wait, my mouth's already pink. My system.
Your system?
In my body.
So here's a hint. There was a Baltimore pediatrician at the time who wrote an article that was published in the Journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and it was called, ready for this?
Yeah.
Benign red pigmentation of stool resulting from food coloring in a new breakfast cereal, the Frankenberry stool. What is... I bet you don't know this. What is stool a synonym for?
Your butt.
No, but close.
Oh, poop. Oh, I've heard that before. Stool is poop. I've
Great.
heard that before.
Oh, that's good. Well, anyway, it was turning red, and so people thought they were bleeding internally and were going to the hospital, and Frankenberry had to reformulate its cereal the next year to get rid of that dye.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they've reformulated the cereals a few times over the years. The older versions of the cereal used to be an oat-based grain mix, and now they're corn-based, and you can tell the difference. Usually that's like a cost-saving measure. It's a little bit cheaper to grow and cultivate corn in the United States than it is some other crops, but these cereals were never really about the taste anyway. They were more about the mascots and the box arts and the advertisements and the premiums, and Count Chocula was even on a NASCAR vehicle at one point through a sponsorship. But, you know, that's what you get. These were invented by an ad agency and marketed as such.
Oh, my goodness.
Are you ready to talk about what we think about these?
Yeah.
I am too, but first,
Oh, no.
my favorite part of the show,
No.
Alyssa reads the ingredients. I only put Count Chocula up there for you. We don't have to read all 4 of the cereals.
It's probably like, actually, oh my goodness, this is a lot. Okay. In Count Chocula, we have whole grain corn, sugar, cornmeal, marshmallows, sugar, modified cornstarch, corn syrup, dextrose gelatin, red 40, yellow 5 and 6, blue 1, natural and artificial flavor, corn syrup, canola oil, cocoa processed with alkali, salt, red 40, yellow 5 and 6, blue and another color added, natural and artificial flavor, trisodium phosphate, is that how you say it? Phosphate, vitamins and minerals, calcium carbonate, tricalcium phosphate, zinc and iron, mineral nutrients, vitamin C, sodium ascorbate,
Good.
A, B vitamin, niacinamide, vitamin B6,
Close. Keep going. Pyridoxine hydrochloride.
Yeah, that. Vitamin B2, riboflavin, vitamin B1, thiamine mononitrate.
Great.
Vitamin A, palmitate, AB vitamin, folic acid, vitamin V12, vitamin D3. Phew.
So, with the exception of all the fortifications, all the extra vitamins that are added at the end, there's not a lot in there that sounds like actual food, is there?
No.
No, it's like corn and cornmeal and sugar, and that's it.
And marshmallow.
And the marshmallows, yeah. Like I said, sugar.
Yeah.
So, let's get to the rules of the game. Are you ready?
Yes.
Junk Feud is a culinary clash to see which treat will be crowned the undisputed champion of snacks.
Did you just say Junk Feud?
Yeah.
It's Junk Booed.
Oh, excuse me. Junk Booed is a culinary clash to see which treat will be crowned the undis-BOOed champion of snacks. How's that?
Good.
It's a King of the Mountain style battle in which the reigning champ takes on a new challenger each week to see which snack reigns supreme. We do not have an undis-BOOed champion yet, Liz, but what's going to happen is after this month, the winner of this month will carry over to the October of next year.
We have to wait till next year.
We have to wait till next year after we do this October to crown a new undis-BOOed champion.
Undis-BOOed
So
champion.
Today, to crown that inaugural undis-BOOed champion, we're going to try.
I think like twice is enough. You don't have to say undis-BOOed champion every time.
It's fun to say undis-BOOed.
I know, but the viewers are probably sick of you saying.
Well, listen, it's spooky month. Get used to it.
Okay.
Today we're going to try Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Berry, and Fruit Brute. Fruity Yummy Mummy was not available this year, Liz.
Good.
Either way, it's a fatal 4-way. And Liz, guess what?
What?
It's crunch time.
Crunch time.
We rate our snacks using a tier list from sprinkles to fun dip, so snacks can be rated A, B, C, D, or F, with the very best treats earning the elusive S tier ranking.
Sprinkle tier.
The following contest is scheduled for 1 serving and is for the undisputed championship of junk food.
Okay.
So, we'll start with Count Chocula.
Yes.
The original.
Yes.
We'll talk about packaging first. The box is amazing. The cause art is probably would not be my first choice. I would rather see just the old school style box art of the old Count Chocula.
I don't know what that looked like, but sure.
It kind of looks like the guy now, except he doesn't have bones for ears and he doesn't have big X's over his eyes. But it looks awesome.
Yeah.
The packaging is good. The cereal pieces themselves, in all 4 of the cereals, are ghost shapes. They look like the ghosts from Pac-Man.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like this. They used to be like a cross inside of a circle for Count Chocula.
Okay.
And then at some point they changed them all to ghosts. It's probably easier to make
I'll
them.
talk about the smell.
Yeah, tell me about the smell of Count Chocula.
The smell for all 4 of the cereals is like not, actually 3 of the cereals have like not really a strong smell at all.
Yeah, what were those 3?
Count Chocula, Boo Berry, and Frankenberry. What's the last one?
Fruit Brute?
Fruit Brute has the strongest smell.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that as well. And in fact, we can kind of generalize from all of those. The packaging on all of them is great. They all look fantastic. I think my favorite probably character design is Frankenberry.
Really?
Yeah, I just like the way he looks. I think he's the best character design.
I like the wolf guy.
Fruit Brute,
Yeah.
you think? Okay. They all look the same because they're all ghosts with marshmallows in them. Although Count Chocula is dark brown. The marshmallows are sort of like a grayish brown.
Yeah.
And then in the others, the cereals are light red or pink for Frankenberry, deep blue for Boo Berry, and then like a bright red for Fruit Brute.
Yeah.
And they all have multicolored marshmallows.
Mm-hmm.
You already commented on the smell. They are crunchy cereals, so we don't need to talk about the sound. But here, let's talk about the taste first.
Yeah.
So we tried Count Chocula first.
Yeah.
You told me you thought it tasted like another cereal.
Cocoa Puffs.
Cocoa Puffs. Yeah, it was sort of like a...
It's like a Cocoa Puffs taste, but it's like very dim.
Yeah, it was a more subtle cocoa flavor than a
Yeah.
Cocoa Puff. Very corny. All 4 of them were very corny. You can really tell that it's a corn-based cereal.
It's literally corn syrup, cornmeal, corn treat.
Yeah. And what did you say about the way that the marshmallows tasted in Count Chocula?
In Count Chocula, I think they were sort of just like, for all of them actually, they're all sort of just like absorbing the flavor of the cereal.
Yeah.
So they just sort of all taste just like what the cereal tastes like, just barely anything.
Yeah, I don't think they were really designed to have any flavor. Some of the marshmallows used to have distinct individual flavors. The marshmallows in Fruit Brute, for example, when it debuted in the 70s, were lime marshmallows. And now I think they're just all generic cereal Marbits. They don't taste like much of anything except sugar, and they're absorbing a little bit of the flavor from each one of those cereals. So the Count Chocula marshmallows tasted maybe a little bit cocoa-y. Frankenberry was a little bit strawberry-like. Boo Berry a little bit blueberry. Fruit Brute a little bit cherry. Would you agree?
Yeah. I don't think Fruit Brute tastes like cherry in my opinion.
No? What did you think that it tasted like?
It just tasted like very citrus fruity.
Citrus fruity, okay.
And Mom said they all tasted like medicine.
Yeah, well, that's why she's not on the show.
Yeah. Not very descriptive. Okay.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought that all of them were fine. Count Chocula, I think, was the most traditional cereal-flavored cereal.
Yeah.
It tasted like a chocolate cereal with marshmallows in it. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I really expected to like Frankenberry a lot more than I did. I like artificial strawberry flavors. I thought that Frankenberry tasted a lot like Crunch Berries. It was sort of that like generic fruity cereal flavor over a corn background.
I don't know what Crunch Berries are. I know they're like Captain Crunch, but I've never had them.
Oh, I see. Interesting. So you'll have to try that out.
Okay.
What did you think Frankenberry tasted like?
I don't like it.
You didn't like it?
No.
How about Boo Berry?
Boo Berry, it just like, it tasted like nothing. And then it was like a big, strong kick at the end.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed in Boo Berry because I like blueberry cereals. There used to be one called Blueberry Morning, which was like, if you can imagine Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but blueberry flavored, that was Blueberry Morning, and it was quite good. Boo Berry I wanted to like more than I did. It didn't taste like much up front, and then it had a bit of sort of like a chemically aftertaste almost.
Yeah.
Like an artificial flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either. And then Fruit Brute, I thought would be the best based on the smell. And I did think it was pretty good. It's very rare to encounter a cherry cereal in the wild.
Yeah.
So I think there's some novelty there.
Yeah.
What did you think about Fruit Brute? You said you expected to like that the most too, I think, right?
Yeah, I definitely did. It was like weird though. It was like, it smelled really good. It tasted pretty good just by itself. And then with the milk, it just wasn't good.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. I thought it was all right. I liked it quite a bit. But none of these really like knocked my socks off.
Yeah.
They were good, but not great, right? So I think at that point, Liz, we should hit the bliss point.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts on this week's treats? What did you think about Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Berry, and Fruit Brute?
Plenty of sugar, plenty of salt.
Plenty of sugar, little hit of salt. What did you think about the flavors of each and how would you rate and rank them? Let's start with Count Chocula. From sprinkles to Fun Dip, what do you think?
Count Chocula, I'd give it maybe like a B+.
B+.
Maybe just a regular A-.
A- for Count Chocula.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. I think I would give Count Chocula a B+. You've got it at an A-. I've got it at a B+. I think that's a pretty good rating for that.
Yeah.
How about Frankenberry?
Frankenberry, I'll probably give it like a C.
C for Frankenberry?
Yeah.
You know what? I'd say C+ for Frankenberry.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite.
Sure.
Yeah.
Boo Berry?
D-.
D-. Ooh, rough score.
Yeah.
I'd say C for Boo Berry. It's average.
Ew.
Fruit Brute?
Fruit Brute, I'll give that like a B+.
B+ for Fruit Brute.
Actually, just a regular B.
B for Fruit Brute.
Yeah.
I think I would say B for Fruit Brute as well. So I think our rankings
we have our winner.
I think our rankings are Count Chocula, Fruit Brute, Frankenberry, and then Boo Berry in that order, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Do you know what that means, Liz?
Count Chocula
That
wins.
means Count Chocula is the first ever undis-BOO champion of spooky season.
Spoo.
Congrats to the Count.
Yeah, great job, Count Chocula.
I'm excited for that, Liz.
Yeah, I'm glad that one won. Because now that's what I'm going to have later.
You're going to have Count Chocula for breakfast tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Maybe I will too.
Yeah.
You know what we're going to have soon, Liz?
What?
We're going to have an invocation of the Oreo rule soon.
Yay!
Not today because I can't find them yet, but I have heard through my sources.
From me.
Well, you and some other people.
I am your source right now.
That Brookie Oreos are back.
I am so excited to try these.
This is not a brand new Oreo flavor. These were released before, but they're back on the market now.
Limited
a Brookie Oreo
edition.
in limited edition. Liz, what's a Brookie?
So a Brookie Oreo is a brownie cookie Oreo.
Yeah, Brookie is a mixture of a brownie and usually a chocolate chip cookie together.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. I can't wait to try those.
I can't either.
Liz, we have a question that we have to ask every week.
Yeah.
Will it deep fry?
Gross, but yes.
Can you deep fry Count Chocula and the other Monster cereals?
Probably.
Yeah, probably I think is the right answer. And I would say also, in addition, yuck, gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, same as before. If you want to deep fry something, usually you're going to coat it or mix it with funnel cake batter.
Yeah.
In a county fair in San Diego in 2012, there was some deep fried cereal, which I think it might have been Fruity Pebbles. It was just mixed in with funnel cake batter and thrown into the fryer, and then it was drizzled with maple syrup and more cereal pieces. Yeah, again, yuck. Not good.
Yeah.
Liz.
Yeah.
It's time to check out the back of the box, a weekly segment where we play a little game. Would you like to play a game?
I would love to play a game.
Creepy.
That one wasn't as bad.
You could be one of these Universal Classic monsters when you talk like that.
Hey, rude.
Welcome to Alyssa's Playroom. Would you like to play a game?
Would you like to play a game, Daddy?
See, that would creep me out.
Would you like to come to Alyssa's Playroom and play a little game?
Hey, this week's segment, Liz.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to Famous Foods of Filmland.
We already did this.
On Famous Foods of Filmland, we discussed snacks in cinema, but I thought it was appropriate because we talked so much today about Universal Classic horror movies.
Yeah.
Liz.
Yeah.
In Dracula from 1931, the titular Count Dracula, he has an acolyte named Renfield, a follower.
Yeah.
Dracula himself famously drinks blood to stay alive, but Renfield is not quite a full vampire. So he doesn't really need blood to survive, but he's doing sort of this vampiric cultural appreciation. So he's eating flies to get bloodless. He's snacking on insects while he's holed away in an asylum somewhere in a sanitarium.
Yeah.
That's pretty gross, right?
Yeah.
So Renfield eats flies.
Yeah.
Dracula drinks blood. What other kinds of snacks do you think that the Universal Classic monsters might eat when they're feeling a bit peckish, when they're getting hungry? What might Frankenstein's monster like to snack on?
Little girl's brains.
He's not a zombie.
But he threw the little girl in the lake.
Do you remember that in Bride of Frankenstein, he was eating, I think it was like a chicken drumstick or something like that? Or a smoked turkey leg, maybe, when he went to visit the blind man in the hut. And they played violin and smoked cigars.
Yeah.
I think he maybe ate some... Oh, he ate some stew. Why?
Yeah.
He definitely ate stew or soup. Why am I thinking of him eating like a big piece of chicken?
No, I think I remember that. It was like a drumstick.
Yeah. And maybe it's from a different part of a different movie.
I don't know.
Or maybe that one. What about the mummy? What would the mummy eat?
I see the mummy eating a bunch of marshmallows and playing Chubby Bunny.
For the listeners at home, can you explain what Chubby Bunny is?
So Chubby Bunny is a game that we like to play. And you either take the mega marshmallows, the regular marshmallows, or the mini marshmallows. We usually just use the regular ones. You put in a marshmallow into your mouth, and after every marshmallow you put in, you say Chubby Bunny. And I think our record is probably only like 4 or 3.
So you eat a marshmallow, you put it in your mouth, and you say Chubby Bunny, and then you put another one in, and you say Chubby Bunny, and then you put another one in, and you say Chubby Bunny.
Basically, the goal is to put as many in without choking yourself.
And you stop playing when you can't say it anymore, or when you choke, something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. Could you imagine the mummy trying to do that?
That would be so funny.
How about the Wolfman? What does he eat?
I can see the Wolfman. Maybe something veggie.
The Wolfman is a
Vegemite for what the beast he is.
Oh, you know what? You remember the song Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon?
Werewolves of London.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah.
Well, I think we have our hint in there. I saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand walking down the streets of Soho in the rain.
Okay, so
he was going to Liho Fun, going to get a big dish of beef chow mein. So the Wolfman eats beef chow mein.
I guess so.
How about the Gillman, the creature from the Black Lagoon? He'll be the last one. What does he eat?
He eats Maybe see like a dessert. Aha! Tiramisu.
The creature from the Black Lagoon eats tiramisu.
Yes. And he enjoys it with some macaroons on the side. And a nice cup of tea.
And a cup of tea. So he's a very erudite monster.
Yes.
Very civilized.
And then he smashes the cake in his friend's face.
And he's a jerk also.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound very nice.
Yeah.
You know what does sound very nice?
What?
Ending this show. This podcast has contained your recommended daily allowance of fun.
Fun.
For more, go to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or wherever you choose to be social. Find us at Junk Feud Pod. Stream with us on Twitch. Watch fun size snack reviews on YouTube. Buy merch on TeePublic and fund us on Patreon at Junk Feud Pod for exclusive bites and catch all the snaction each and every week wherever you listen to podcasts. Until we see you again, for Alyssa, I'm Mike.
Hasta lasagna.
Don't get any on ya.
Bye. What was that at the end?
It was a monster.
You just went.